Welcome to the Firepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff McDowell Jr.
And I'm Bennett Grove.
Between us, we have 20 years of firefighting experience.
And over 15 years of experience building, growing, and leading small businesses.
Each episode, we get after it by discussing leadership, life, and development.
We'll also unpack the wins and losses that we've experienced along the way.
You ready, big dog?
I'm ready, my man.
Let's get it. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Firepreneurs Podcast. We are starting our March Marketing Madness series, and to kick that off, we have Michael Grigery. Michael and Bennett are work together with each other in Conquer, and I believe we also just hired Michael to help take over some of our pay-per-click campaigns ourselves. So, testament to Michael there that we use him for his services. Michael is big in leadership, marketing, financial. He's helped build done marketing for a multi-billion-dollar company at the franchise level, and he's big on self-limiting beliefs on what's between your ears. So I don't butcher any more of his intro. I will let Michael Grigery talk more about himself.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. It was nice to meet you as well today.
Yeah.
Good catching up and learning more about your story as well. So I am a home service junkie, I would say. I've studied home service business entrepreneurs for the last 10 years, studied behaviors, industries, markets, what works, what doesn't work, and really kind of created a toolbox based on leveraging people's strengths to expedite their growth to whatever their why is. And being a part of the Conquer program, which you'd mentioned, Bennett and I both are, it's an amazing opportunity to meet just zealous fire entrepreneurs that want to build their business and build their brand in a way that really suits them and their needs. And my skill set, just learning from so many people over the years, has helped me understand both what it takes to be successful and holding people accountable, as well as giving them the tools and resources that Conquer has in order to understand the back end, the technical part of growing and scaling a business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my history. I started in franchising. I honestly, until 2018, when Conquer launched, I thought that I would be a part of a franchise network forever. They have, community. Every franchise owner is the same thing. Clarity. They have a proven system that everybody follows. And then they have accountability, which is like your Conquer coach or your consultant that works with you. So Conquer does the exact same thing. So I will always believe there's a place for franchises, because there is. People don't want to build a brand themselves, but there's so many tools and resources like your podcast and what you're doing and what Bennett's doing that allow people to just go rogue and do it on their own. And that's why I'm here today doing what I do.
Yeah, and again, great to have you on here, because I know you're a wealth of knowledge, and it's just looking at some of your history and your bio and the stuff you believe is a lot of awesome stuff. That the accountability piece is big, and the self-limiting beliefs of we're kind of our own worst enemy. That's always a big thing that people need to break through, and sometimes need help breaking through that. So I'm going to jump to a question. Bennett and his wife Miranda handle all of our marketing, as we kind of discussed earlier. So I stay completely hands off on that side of it. So I'm kind of a dummy when it comes to marketing. So.
Yeah, well, this will be good for you, Jeff. Good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to learn a lot. So I'm going to jump to, you hear these terms thrown out a lot. So what are kind of the differences, or if there are any, really, between like branding and marketing, and then how do those relate to one another?
Okay. That's a really good question. So marketing is like the strategic plan or the tactics that you're using to leverage your brand. Your brand is the idea or the concept of your company. It evokes a feeling. When people look at your logo, when people look at your unique value proposition, they have some sort of feeling. Your marketing complements that. And your marketing is the things that you're sending out into the world to say, hey, check out our brand, and here's all the awesome things we do. You'll find, if you do a lot of research, that the stronger brands, the people just a stronger foundation, are going to have a higher conversion rate or a better feeling for consumers than those with just a text brand with one color.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good advice there for sure. So as we mentioned, that Bennett and you have worked together with AGS Conquer. So we talked about your business, your story, your home services audience. So would you mind expanding kind of what the home services businesses that you've worked with in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how many industries, probably a dozen industries. I started in the exterior cleaning industry. I was the marketing director for Window Genie, and still to this day, the founder and president is one of my best friends. Love the guy to death. His name's Rick. And he really taught me so much about just what it means to be an entrepreneur, what franchising means. And I got to be a part of that organization, growing from 30 to over 100 locations in about 4 years, and just massive increase, and really just be a leader in the organization from that growth. They were acquired by a really large franchise holdings company. And for them, I got to learn about brand continuity, brand integrity, brand consistency, and then actually be a consultant from a digital marketing perspective for this company as well. So that kind of just really solidified my knowledge of across a lot of brands, just being on weekly calls with maid services and drug removal services and everybody else there to just understand buying cycles, just the avatar of each brand, what messaging, what offers work the best, the seasonality. And you get to see kind of what I really learned mostly from that is that to be a successful home service company, you have to have some sort of mix of high average ticket and high average ticket and low frequency, and low average ticket and high frequency, to build a database and start to ascend them up this value ladder. Because I'm sure you know, Jeff and Bennett, you've got so many customers in your database, a large portion of which are just like, take my money, right? And when you can offer complimentary services, they can take your money in so many other ways. So that's one thing that I've really learned is don't just get boxed into saying, I only do this one thing, that's all I do. Really look at the complimentary services that you can offer your clients, because once you've spent tens, thousands, hundreds of $1,000s to acquire these customers, what else can you do for them? Because they already know, like, and trust you.
Yeah, that's a great point. No matter what, when you get a customer, it takes money to acquire that customer. So once you've got them in, it's best to build on that. So I hear a lot of the Conquer coaches talk about upselling once you're there on site, to be that expert on site and provide that upsell to the customer. So that's a good piece there. I like asking the question of people that have seen kind of both sides between the independent business owners and the franchises. Kind of what are the pros and cons to going into a franchise, or anything that somebody should look out for if they're looking into franchises to get into?
That's a fantastic question. So like I said before, there is a place for franchises and non-franchise businesses. So being in franchising for 8 years, I got to really see the type of person that wants to do a franchise. They don't want to do all the hard work to design a logo and get a website done and get their print collateral and their marketing materials and figure out what works, where it works. And they just want to have somebody tell them how to do it. So the upfront cost, the upfront investment from a franchise is just naturally, by what I explained, is going to be more expensive. But the back end, with the processes and the community and their proven system, hopefully, if they're a credible franchise, you'll see it's very common to see people grow really fast when they enter a franchise network, because they have this system. You literally just follow the rules and then you go. What's happened over the last 3 to 5 years is there's this kind of grassroots movement for people who are non-franchise businesses that are just figuring it out on their own. And then through either goodwill, YouTube channels, podcasts, or through structured organizations like Conquer, they have this proven system, which is identical to a franchise. They've got the community of everybody in Conquer is all in it together. The clarity, 200 free resources in our Basecamp library, which is like a plug and play system for you. And you've got the accountability, which is the group of people that you're holding yourself accountable to and everybody else in the group. So it's the same thing as a franchise. Pros and cons. So I think the pro of a franchise is that you get everything that you need without having to go reinvent the wheel. It's literally all there for you. A con is, in most franchise, actually everyone I've ever seen, is the franchise owns your brand. The franchise owns your customer list. They literally own everything. So you're basically just leasing it. You can't expand. You can't go service anywhere you want, which is a detriment to some people who just want the freedom to say, hey, I'm going to offer these new services. Or maybe I have seen a hotspot, 5 or 10 miles away that you don't own. So there's pros and cons to both. If I was considering starting a new business or franchising, I would look and see how much work you wanted to put in on the front end, because it's hundreds of hours of work you have to put in on the front end in order to make sure you have a brand that people recognize, create your messaging, your offers, your sales promotion packages, everything else. There's a lot of work. Once it's established, join a community, it's a lot easier to scale.
Yeah. More great advice, man. And I know people look at starting a business. I know before I even joined Fire Dogs, that was one thing I looked at, buy a franchise. And you hear the war stories out there, right? Oh, don't do that. There's, then you'll hear 500 failure stories of why you shouldn't. So
you'll hear 500 failure stories why you shouldn't do anything from those nations.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just go all in with your decision and it will work.
Yeah. And we've talked about that on past podcasts too. A lot of successful people have said that, you can't go half measures to be successful. You got to go all in. So, Move on to the next question. What is the most common mistake you see entrepreneurs, or in our case, firefighters who are starting a business, make when it comes to marketing?
Oh yeah, that's an easy one. Okay, being reactive for sure. Doing this as long as I have, you see people just during a peak season, whenever your busy season is, you're just like money's raining down from the sky, and then all of a sudden something stops. The demand slows down, weather, school, something slows it down, and then the entrepreneur says, or the firepreneur says, your phone's not ringing and your lag time is down, it's going to take at least a couple of weeks to get that back up. So you have to be proactive. I use the acronym ACE. You want to ace your season. So you want to anticipate, knowing the seasonality of your business. You want to anticipate that season by really hitting your customer database really hard, throwing offers out 1, 2, 3 weeks before you're going to see that huge push. The C is capitalize. You want to make sure you're capitalizing when demand is really high with the right offers, the right closing percentage, following those metrics. And then E is extend. I want to extend the season as well. There's always a summer dip or a winter dip or something. And so what I want to do while demand's still at its peak, hit it really, really hard again to keep that momentum as far into the slow period as I possibly can. So really leveraging our database to make sure that they are aware of our season, to get them to go on the front and the back end, and then pushing marketing really hard on the front and back end of the season. So I'd say being proactive is what you need to do. And most entrepreneurs are reactive and waiting until the phone's not ringing to do something.
Yeah. And a great analogy that we use for sales too is keeping the funnel full, right? So you got to fill your funnel, and the more you fill the funnel, the more it's going to trickle out of the bottom. And when you stop doing that, the funnel stops trickling out of the bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it does get hard. People are, you get that success. You're like, yeah, things are rolling. And then you just stop. And then you stop filling your funnel.
I don't need to do anything. We're booked out 3 weeks. Let's stop everything.
Yeah. And then it's it's just weird that things stop 3 weeks after that. So
yeah.
Let's see here. So let's see what question we've got here. Since you coach many home services entrepreneurs, when it comes to marketing advice, what piece of advice do you find yourself giving regularly?
So this could be anything. Self-limiting belief. This is where we could talk about that. I was at a conference in 2018 called the Automate Grow Sell Experience. And Josh Latimer, a good friend of mine, has this amazing ability to make grown men vulnerable. And I was in a room with a couple hundred people, and everybody had to write down what their biggest internal struggle was. And self-limiting belief was the overwhelming majority. It might've been 100%. And you got to see like grown men crying and saying like, I wrote this huge number of sales goal down. And the reason I haven't hit that number is because of me, because I don't believe I can do it. And so the first thing I'd say you have to do is believe you can do it. There's the only thing that's going to keep you from achieving your goals is the belief that you have inside your head that's telling you can't do that. You can absolutely do that. I use oftentimes in my meetings, I love this original picture, and maybe you've seen it, of Jeff Bezos in 1988 when Amazon was just a thing. He literally took a door off of his office with 2x4s and had it there. And he's got cords and wires everywhere. He spray painted Amazon on his wall, and he believed it. He was telling his friends that he was going to be the richest person in the world, and he knew it, and he did it. Now, I'm not saying everybody's Jeff Bezos by any means, but what I am saying is that that is a perfect example of belief, right? If you believe you can do it, and every decision you make is in line with that belief and that goal that you have, you will achieve your success.
Yeah, 100%. And something we've touched on quite a bit in our podcast previously as well. A big one is numbers, money, right? A lot of people have that self-limiting belief when it comes to money of, that's a lot of money for me, right? $10,000 bid, like that's a lot. I just feel like that's too much. And then they start backing down and lose profit margins, and then you can find yourself not doing as well as you should be because of your own self-limiting beliefs. So.
It is. Yeah. And in coaching, we do that a lot, is I leverage that, because there are people, I'm sure you've had on your podcast as well, they go to that $10,000 bid and they start salivating. They're so excited because in their mind, they've already closed it, right? So they walk up just jazzed and happy, like, we're going to do that and we're going to do that. And they're just excited. And the customer's like, here's $10,000, start now. And somebody else, the same thing, they're going to walk to the same job and they're going to be trembling and shaking. And I hope this is okay. And the customers, they smell blood, right? They're like, What can you do for 8? Can you do for 7? Because they know, they can feel it.
Right.
And so I like to put these people together, because that person that can sell anything is probably awful with money, right? They're out there just like wasting all their money because they can sell anything. And then I have the other guy that can't sell, is like so frugal and just knows exactly how to plan every single penny, because every penny matters. And those two people together, I mean, I've seen people raise their price 50% overnight, like literally 50%, because they heard somebody else's story that you just mentioned. They're like, I do the same thing. Why can't I get that much money? And they go and do it. And guess what? It works. So self-limiting belief, again, just believing that you can do it and leveraging people's strengths together is what makes like this new culture that we're seeing so powerful.
Yeah, that's an awesome practice that you're able to do that, man. Bring people in from both spectrums and have them influence each other like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's an unfair advantage. It really is, because I spend 20 hours a week on the phone with you. I learn every week. I just learn more things, and it's really cool getting to see other people succeed and their struggles, and using that same thing I learned the previous weeks to help somebody else. It's an unfair advantage, but I'm going to do it as long as I can.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Yeah. Okay, so next question. If you put yourself in the shoes of a firepreneur, so firepreneurs, firefighter, kind of a side job. They're not there full-time like most entrepreneurs would be. And perhaps assume they already have the equipment, maybe $5K to spend on marketing. What would you do with that budget? And I know that this is kind of vague, so we can.
No, it's not vague. Actually, we have a client that's a firefighter in North Carolina, and we have had these conversations before that he's not ready to step away from his full-time firefighting gig. So how do we scale the business? So when you're thinking about like $5,000 to spend on marketing, unless you have a database. I don't know how long you've been in business, but if you have a database, you always want to leverage your database. That's the most valuable asset you have in your company, is the customers you've already serviced. So that's where you start. So I'd spend some money to that. My benchmark is to take 1% of my sales goal and spend it on my customers, whether it's through email marketing, whether it's through referral gifts or whatever it could be. Just take that 1% and spend it on my database. The next thing I would do is start with the low-hanging fruit. And I use the analogy, if I had $5,000 to spend, only $5,000, where would I spend it? What's my number one lever? And it's usually going to be low-hanging fruit, or where people are looking for your service. So find where people are hanging out, where the fish are biting, and that's where you go spend your money. And depending on what industry you're in, what market you're in, city, state, et cetera, there's different levels of competition, different messaging, different ways to kind of make yourself stand out amongst the crowd. And it's your job to take that $5,000, be where people are fishing. Other people are going to be there as well. But what can you do to get a better megaphone? What can you do to have an offer, a message, a unique value proposition that's going to make people want to see or call you?
Yeah. And now, is there a kind of an avenue that you see to where you can find the fish, so to speak, right? So there's Facebook, there's Nextdoor, there's local associations. Like, is there anything like that you kind of advise people to
great
check
question.
out?
So industry, like trades are different from services, high ticket are different from low ticket, markets are different, B2B, B2C. So it's difficult to like pinpoint exactly, what you want to do, but figure out who your avatar is. I mean, I have clients that focus solely on new builds, new construction, and HOA communities. They don't even go after like residentials. They don't do Google ads. They don't even have a very good website, but they are a 7-figure company just with these amazing relationships with builders all across their area. So it's for that person, saying spend $5,000 on Google ads wouldn't make any sense at all, because their clients aren't looking on Google ads. So I would start by saying, who's your target market? Who's your audience? Who do you want to be in front of, and where are they? Once you figure out where they are, then you figure out what they want. There's a lot of good books and a lot of good resources. They Ask You Answer, Story Brand, that really kind of get inside the minds of a customer and help you craft a message. What I can say is, when somebody does see your brand, they're in a couple of different phases. They're in the interest phase. They're interested in a service. They're in the desire phase. They're ready to purchase your business or service, whatever it is. And you need to understand where they are and what message they want. Usually when somebody lands on your website, specifically from Google, where most people are searching, you have two objectives: to establish enough trust and credibility to make the consumer believe that you can solve their problem, right? They've got an issue. They have a checklist, honey-do list said, hey, I need to get my house cleaned or house washed, or you need to clean out the basement, get some junk removed. They have a thing on their to-do list, and they're landing on your webpage. And your job of your webpage is say, hey, we can do that for you. Check out all these reasons why we can do that for you. As soon as you become an authority to them, as soon as you believe that you are somebody that can solve their problem, that's when you get the lead, which is why anybody listening to your podcast is going to say when customers call you, they're usually happy, right? Nobody picks up the phone and says, I'm wasting my time here. This customer is never going to call me. So they're calling you because they have a problem and they believe you can solve it. So your job is to sell the job as quickly and as fast as possible. Like, just get it done because I can do it. Here's reasons why. Here's your price. Here's a date. Let's do it. And I'd say that finding your target market, setting the specific message that is in line with your market, and then you'll win every single time.
Nice. So I know you touched on this a couple times already. I know and I've listened to a couple of your podcasts and just read some stuff about you. I know you're big on data, and data is kind of power within a business anyway. I don't mean to say anyway, but data is power within a business.
Yeah.
So when it comes to marketing, what kind of data should people be looking for and gathering, and how could they go about doing that?
Yeah. So different phases. So marketing, I consider marketing before the phone rings and then sales after the phone rings. So when I'm looking at getting the phone to ring, the most important metrics I'm looking at is cost per lead. So I sent money out for Google ads, local service ads, Facebook, whatever it could be, and how many leads did I get back? And then I want to assign how much did I pay for that lead. Now, some lead sources that you do are more for branding. They're just intended to get the brand out. So you're not going to be getting as high of a ROI on these things. But for the most part, when you send marketing out, you expect to get a return. So with that, cost per lead is really important. And then cost per acquisition is equally important. Cost per acquisition is an awesome metric because from a marketing standpoint, it tells you how much you pay to get a customer. Cost per acquisition is a dollar amount, but it's also a closing percentage as a percentage. Because if you look at your cost per acquisition, it's number of jobs you did divided by how much you spent. And if you look at your closing percentage, it's number of leads you got or number of jobs you closed divided by number of leads you got as a percentage. So it's used in both sales and marketing metrics, but it's really important because if your cost per lead is really low, but your cost per acquisition is really high, you have a low closing percentage, which means you need to fix your sales process or your messaging in some way. You have a bait and switch or something. So cost per lead, cost per acquisition are the two metrics from a marketing perspective I like to look at.
Okay. And when it comes to sales, you know, trying to find your target market specifically, is there anything you think people should do there, like tag industry tags or anything like that? That way they can kind of see where their average ticket is per industry or kind of any of those kind of metrics like that to help them target where their marketing money should go.
Yeah. So I would look at opportunity before average ticket. You know, as an example, if I'm in a smaller market and there's like this one industrial complex that's huge and I just landed a $50,000 contract from them, I'm not going to say my target market's industrial complexes because there's only one of those, right? So that wouldn't make any sense. But what I would do is break it down by service and opportunity. So if I have 3 services, I'm not going to isolate to one particular industry because you're trying to go after a lot, I imagine. So, you know, A, B, and C industry or service, and service 2 has a ton of potential, but I'm not really tapping into it very well. I'm really going to see how much more opportunity, how many more leads I can get for service 2. And then I can really shift that pie chart because average ticket is a massive part of your sales growth, right? If I can get a service with a higher average ticket, I don't have to do as many jobs to hit my sales goal. So I really want to look at my mix, my portfolio of services, and really find the opportunity with my current portfolio of services that I can isolate and really go after, whether it's my database to say, hey, you didn't know we offered this service, but we do, or go out into the world and say, hey, we offer this service. Here's why you should call us. Kind of the same thing I said about having people visit your website. Right.
Yeah. A lot of great information there again, man. A lot of stuff that people don't think about necessarily whenever they're in business or the ways to get the phone to ring. Kind of hitting some of those points.
People so often, this is another thing I see about entrepreneurs and I'm the same way, absolutely consumed with our business. And we make an assumption that other people think about our business as much as we do. And that's completely ridiculous, right? It's like, this is your livelihood. This is how you put food on your table. This is how you supply jobs and lives and let your employees buy homes and, you know, do the thing that they do. And it's your life. And consumers, it's not. It's a small little moment in time. They just check something off their list. You show up, you leave. A little different with high frequency services, maids, janitorial, landscaping, something like that. But for the most part, it's just somebody that comes and does a thing and leaves. They've still got their family, their jobs, their career, their business to run, and not to get consumed by everybody thinking about you all the time. In fact, if you ask a lot of your customers that use you for one service, if they even know you offer another service, most people are going to say no. So you're doing a disservice to your customers by not letting them know of your service offerings.
Yeah, 100%. And we've been in business for 10 years now. And, we've got some franchises here that are a little bit larger than us still. But there's still times that I run into people and they're like, at Fire Dogs, yeah, I think you guys do fire restoration, right? No, it's Fire Dogs junk removal. It's in the name. So, yeah, even still, that definitely is the case where people don't understand everything that you do fully.
Yep.
Okay, next question. What are some trends you are seeing right now in pay-per-click across Google, Bing, Facebook, etc.?
Okay, trends. So I'd say multi-platform or multimedia advertising is not just boxing yourself into one. And this goes into, again, what industry you're in. So there's buying cycles. Junk removal is a pretty quick buying cycle, right? I'm moving. I need to get this cleaned out. I'm ready to buy relatively quickly. Same thing with landscaping or maid services or exterior cleaning. Other ones like hardscapes, tree removal, unless it's an emergency service, or painting, they're a little bit longer buy cycles. So I would focus the trends on leveraging multiple medias to connect with the same client multiple times through a given period of time. As an example, one of my favorite things to do right now is a multi-touch between EDDM, Every Door Direct Mail, and Facebook, because you can be hyper-targeted with Every Door Direct Mail to a specific mail route. And you'll hear the haters say, yeah, but you're going to apartment homes and places you don't want, but it's 18 cents and you're going to get 30 homes that are bad. So yeah, you're wasting like $11 by sending an EDDM out. But for the most part, you know where these homes are. And then I can do a Facebook campaign at the exact same time to the exact same area that is showing me doing some goodwill, cleaning an entryway into an HOA community or a building that people know and recognize. So they're seeing me on Facebook and they're seeing me in the mailbox at the same time. Also, retargeting through your website, Google Ads, and Facebook is another really big one. Depending on what industry you're in, you're going to see between a 3 and a 20% conversion rate. So those people that don't convert, we need to know why. So retargeting them and introducing them back to your brand is a really good way to use the multiple medias for as well. So I'd say focus on multi-touch, multimedia, and how can you complement these two things together through EDDM and Facebook, or Google Ads and Facebook, or yard signs and EDDM, whatever it could be. Putting 2 or 3 things together is going to be a really cool tool for you to use.
Yeah, we touch on in our business development and our outside salespeople that it generally takes anywhere between 8 to 15 touches before somebody will use you, and that's in face-to-face situations too. So, talking about impressions and getting in front of people, do you recommend doing kind of compounded actions like that, where you're doing it kind of at the same time to a targeted market, or how would you space out marketing, and kind of how would you go about that? Making those impressions.
The marketing calendars that I've used for years focus on, it's a week by week kind of a marketing calendar is just an accountability sheet for your marketing. And you're exactly right. We do that. So we have email, phone, postcard for our existing database or existing customers. We're ACE acronym, so anticipation. Before the season starts, we're going to make sure we're hitting all 3 of those medias at least twice before the season starts. So I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm personally going to call those key customers, those 80-20 rule, those 20% of customers that give me 80% of my revenue. I'm going to call them personally. All the rest of the customers are either going to get a text blast or a voicemail bomb or some sort of like automated message to me at least one time, but probably twice. I'm going to send a postcard to their house and say, hey, it's about to be crazy. Get on the schedule now, exclusivity, discounts, whatever your message or your brand says. And then I am going to send emails. A lot of times companies really focus too much on email. I think email is an insanely powerful tool and resource when done consistently. But if you look at email open rates, at best, you're going to be 30%. And that's amazing. So usually it's around 20%. So if you only rely on emails, 1 in 5 of your emails gets opened. And of those 1 in 5 that gets opened, only about 5 or 10% of those emails are even going to take action on. So it's a really, really small percentage when you focus on one media. So I always want to go through the phone, email, postcard, and then a ninja trick would be to save the very, very last one, your knockout punch, as a text blast, because text blasts have by far the highest open rate, highest response rates than anything else. And if you send that out first, everything else is kind of just supplementary. So do everything you can at the very last moment, push that text blast, and that's how you can get your database working for you really well.
That's great advice. How do you battle against like bordering that line between making those impressions and kind of being an annoyance to where people are going to unsubscribe from you?
That's a phenomenal question. Yeah. If you add value to people, you're always going to win. And when we send out emails, so I always recommend that you send at least your monthly newsletter, right? At the very least, just a monthly communication to your clients that just gives value. Now you've heard the jab, jab, punch analogy, maybe, where you do like value, 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 ask. So your emails, depending on your industry, in junk removal, there's a whole bunch of value you can add, from decluttering your house, keeping your home clean, removing dust, like moths or whatever it could be. You can write content that's going to add a ton of value in the world of junk removal that is also going to, the homeowners are going to really enjoy reading. And so this makes them want to just pick up and read that couple hundred, 300 or 400 word email that you're sending out. And at the very end of every email, regardless, you always have an ask. Like, hey, if you really like this content and you need services done, here's a special for this month, give us a call. And then you have that's your jabs. And then your punches at the beginning and the end of every season is, hey, glad you enjoy these emails. This month, we're about to get really crazy, or this month, we're offering a crazy, ridiculous special. Here it is, buy our services. And so you never get annoying when you add value to the client. And you can always add value by something that is in line with your industry or something that the clients want to read. And there's tools and resources that you can use that allow you to see what they want to read.
Awesome, man. And this is a great information for a guy like me. Like I said, I come in with almost no marketing knowledge at all. So just trying to soak it all in.
Crash course.
Yeah. The other thing I know, Bennett's kind of taught us this is when we are doing email blasts, we'll email our customer list that we have. We call it our shark list, is to make the email subject something that sticks with people, right? So, because even if it's not open, that'll stick there. So we always try to get the name in our email subject. So at least that's making an impression there. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah. I mean, the subject line of an email is the most important thing. You could have a Pulitzer Prize author write you this crazy, amazing email copy, but if they don't open it, it doesn't even matter.
Right.
So you have to get some subject line. And that's why we can actually recycle some email content with really bad open rates, because people haven't read it anyway. So that's what you have to get that right first. And if you're writing your own email content, there's thousands of resources for you to go and see, like how to write catchy subject lines to make people want to open it. And everybody's heard the term clickbait. All clickbait does is get you to click on it. Same thing with an email, right? You're just trying to get a little clickbaity on there to make somebody want to open it. And, the 3 ways to declutter your home, for free right now, that might be a really good, subject line or something. So finding ways just to get people to open it. That's your first objective. Because again, they don't open it, nothing matters.
Right. So touching again on kind of impressions and reaching out to customer lists, how do you go about like customer loyalty programs or referral programs? Are you a fan of implementing those at all?
Yes, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. I'm in the business of like to help you. I love that mantra. And I don't tell people they have to do something. As an example, I have a friend in a small town in Mississippi who has over a 50% referral rate and has never given a dime away for referrals. Very successful company, amazing referral program. It gives nothing away for it. They have an ask at every customer touch point. They do a little bit extra on the job site to make sure that the customer is overly satisfied, and they ask, and then referrals just blow up. Other people believe they have to have a referral program, or they have a little gift bag or something at the end of every job. So what I would say is you should have an industry benchmark for referral percentages. And that's where you want to be. If you're below that number, we need to do something and make sure that we hit to that number. 15% I like to use as a really good just baseline across a lot of industries. It works. If you take your sales in a pie chart, if 15% of your business is not coming from referral, you're doing something wrong. And in that case, you can either ask more, you can have a leave behind referral, a gift or something, or you can have some sort of promotion. What I will say is, seeing hundreds of different ways people do referrals, don't give a discount on a future service. Don't give this promise of something that's going to happen in the future. Give an immediate benefit, because people don't care about what's going to happen in a year from now. They want something right now. And sometimes people aren't even motivated by a gift or financial services. They just want to spread goodwill. And your job as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, is to find those people who want to be your brand advocates, your influencers. And those are the people we really want to tap into, because everybody that's listening to this podcast probably knows they have a customer or client that's given them 5, 10, 15 referrals. Those are the people we want to find and take care of, because they're going to continue to feed us leads forever, because they love it. They want to, and they want to help us.
Yeah. And it's going out there, every job you do, you're essentially working to build your sales force, right? Your outside sales team with the people that you work with. So more great advice, man. We're just said I'm just a sponge right now, taking it all in myself. So back into trends. So what are some trends you're seeing with website ranking and search engine optimization?
Oh, yeah, it's changing constantly. So if somebody listens to this in 2022, it's probably going to be different. So one thing that Google's been constant with in the last 4 or 5 years is experience. They really care about relevance. They care about authority, and making sure that when a customer lands on your site, you're giving them what they need. And I've been guilty of doing some gray or black hat things in the past, not for the last several years, because I've gotten busted before. But just I've found that if you're able to provide a message and content that is what the customer wants to establish that trust, and yourself as an authority, you're going to win. So I would say, get a good content writer. When we build websites for clients, we have a 30-minute phone interview, and we ask them 5 questions. We say, tell me about your process. What is it that you do? So we can hear exactly from the owner what their process is. We have a real person answer the phone. We show up to your house to do the quote in 24 hours. Everybody wears background checks and badges, and our content writers take that and they put it into the pages. We said, tell me about the common objections. What are the reasons people don't want to buy your services? How do you overcome them? So we write about the common objections. So people that are scared about something in a service, we can answer that question directly for them. So we go through these questions and we really try to identify from the owner, from the brand perspective, what it is that they're delivering for the consumer, so that when they're on the website and reading this, they can have it. As far as rankings go, there's a really cool metric, and anybody that's listening can Google this as well. Only about 50% of Google searches are clicked on. And that's an important metric people, I think, overlook. So in your industry, in your market, and this month, let's just say for easy math, there's 1,000 people that search your money keyword. Of those 1,000 people that search your money keyword, according to Google, only 500 of those are going to get a click. So I like to think of it as a pie chart. Now, when we look at the search rankings and what we're doing, Google is always trying to monetize. And you've seen over the years them monetize even more and more of their search engine. Google local service ads is another really good example of that. So of the remaining 50% of clicks, you're going to have that allocation done to Google ads, local service ads, to Google My Business, to organic, and then to the lead aggregators, the Yelp, Angie's List, HomeAdvisor, Thumbtack, GraphJack, Houzz, whatever it could be. So you're trying to get that share of the remaining 50%. Now, people that say they don't want to do one media type, let's say I don't need to do Google ads because I crush an organic. Well, about 15% of all searches or more are going to be at that top part, because it's at the very, very top of Google. So 15 to 20% gone right off the bat, because you're not on the paid space. They're getting 20% of those remaining clicks. Now you get about 30% left over, and that's going to be your Google My Business and your organic ranking. So you need to diversify. We mentioned at the beginning a power of a brand, right? If I have my listing showing up on a Google search, a Bing search, whatever it could be, multiple times throughout the experience, throughout the page, just by odds, it's going to make me get a higher chance for a click. And then if my brand really resonates, if my message really resonates on Google, it's going to raise that chance for a click. And that's what we're doing, is trying to diversify, being on Google local service ads, being on Google ads, being in Google My Business, being there organically, being on the third-party lead aggregators. You don't have to pay for Yelp. You don't have to pay for HomeAdvisor, but certainly just having a listing there raises your chance better than zero, and they're good backlinks and citations. That's one. And I think secondly, if I'm talking too long, you can stop me.
No, you're good.
Second is Google My Business. Google My Business is insanely powerful. And I read an article this morning on Search Engine Journal, and they made the case that Google My Business is actually more important than your website organic rankings. One, because just by definition, it's Google My Business or Google Local. So it's a local business, and being able to add content, add images, respond to reviews, giving value on that page. When people see it, it's got a map. It's got directions if you have a physical locations. It's literally showing how many reviews you have right there with your phone number. So it's a really, really high converting place that you want to be targeting. So diversify, making sure you're everywhere, knowing how much you're paying for a lead so you're not wasting your money in any one of these media types, and then raise your chance of getting a click. Once you get the click, then your brand can really make that conversion happen.
Yeah, and you touched on this a little bit, but how important is it to have the links, maybe the badges, the profiles, social, not just social media profiles, but if you're in an association, setting up that profile and spending time on it, how important is all that stuff tied into when somebody searches for your services or company?
So social proof, awards and accolades, these are the number one buying signal right now. It's what people buy from those they know, like, and trust. And if you can present yourself as an authority or somebody with a leader in reviews in your area, it's going to significantly increase your conversion rates. I've seen this through managing, thousands of sites over the years, that a brand new business with no reviews and no badges, no awards is going to have a lower conversion rate on average than somebody who dominates and leads the way. When Brandon Vaughn started doing presentations and speaking across the country, being an authority on education in his industry. And what we found with that is he was putting that information into his sales portfolios. So now not only is his business do great work, but the owner of the business is a national speaker and teaches other people, and the closing rates again go through the roof. So establish yourself as an authority through any means you can. If you speak at events, use that. If you've got the most reviews, use that. If you're BBB certified or whatever it could be, these are what you need to be putting on your marketing messaging to allow people know that you can be trusted and you do good work.
Yeah, and that's, again, I've done more outside sales and marketing, as I think I've referenced plenty of times already. But it's no different than outside sales. We would carry a binder and have reviews from customers and say, this is what we're going in to talk to a realtor. This is realtor reviews, right? So it's a specific review to this industry and how we've worked with those people. So more great advice on how to use kind of what you already have to leverage to get you more market share.
Exactly. Yep.
Next question. What type of boots on the ground tactics are your favorites and why?
So I believe in your March Madness, you have one of the topics that are going to be on boots on the ground. It's like one of my boots on the ground heroes, by the way. I really follow a lot of what he says. So a lot of non-franchised, and I can tell a story about that too if you want, but a lot of non-franchised businesses start out with boots on the ground. They lost their job. It's a side hustle. It's something that they have a dream, and they just start flyering, knocking on doors, door hangers, yard signs, whatever they could be. And then what happens is you get busy. And when you get busy, you're like, oh, I don't have time to do that. And Google works for me now, or I've got a referral program. So you stop boots on the ground, when in reality, it's not just you anymore. You've got territory managers and salespeople and technicians and everybody that has a boots on the ground opportunity. When you stop at a customer's home, there's 5 homes around that you can hit within like 3 minutes to give them some sort of information about your business. And because we mentioned people buy from who they know, like, and trust, and the Jones effect, they call it, like everybody keeping up with the Joneses. If one company or one homeowner gets a service done, everybody else knows that they want to get the service done too, because I want to be like my neighbors. And if I'm getting my house washed or my lawn professionally mowed or my Christmas lights professionally done, I want to do that too, because I don't want them to be better than me. So it's a real thing. And so I would say boots on the ground should never stop. It should only be accelerated. And there's a ton of tactics. I don't want to go into it too much because I know you're going to have a whole presentation on this, but just never stop. This is a weakness. Anybody in your audience that listens, it's a franchise. And I can say from the executive level in franchising that this is the biggest miss for franchises. When I join a franchise, I've paid a lot of money to be in a franchise, and I'm paying a lot of money every month to be a part of that franchise. They don't want to go knock on doors. Like they're not coming from a place of pain. Like this isn't a side hustle for them. This is, I gave you a bunch of money. You have an awesome website. Go make my marketing happen. Like go do all these things for me. And then I'll just go do the job. They're not pounding this pavement. They're not doing that. And it's a big opportunity for non-franchise businesses to take advantage of.
Yeah, I like that you have the experience on both sides. Like I said, when somebody has that, I like to pull on those threads to learn more about it, because people don't know that going into a franchise, right? And it's, again, you could kind of go both ways. Do I want to start a franchise or just start doing this myself? So,
yeah. I've been on many calls where I said, just boots in the ground, go do door hangers. Like, you're crazy. You go do door hangers for me. I'm not going to do that. I'm like, okay, don't do it then.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So some of our audience have not yet started a company or is considering starting a side hustle. What advice would you give them should they choose to do so?
Well, go all in. I feel like you said you've talked about that a lot before. Don't be afraid to fail. Fail forward. Make mistakes. Surround yourself with people that are currently doing or already have done the thing that you want to do. You're not reinventing the wheel. There's no way that you're creating something. If you are, be very wary. That's never been done before. If you're junk removal or pest control or landscaping, whatever you're doing, there's thousands, probably millions of people that have done the exact same thing you're doing before. So figure out how they've done it, what they've done, what works for them, and then just model after something that works. People on the early stages of business, very early, I'm talking like week 1 through 10, is they're buying because of you, right? You don't have this amazing, well-established brand and 20 technicians and an offering, an office phone messaging system. You've got you, and you're out there doing it, and people are buying because of you. And that's how you get the experience to build a business and a foundation to understand the technical side. I would recommend, before anybody start a business, to read the E-Myth Revisited. It is a blueprint for success, because most people, overwhelming, start as a technician, become the manager, and eventually promote themselves to the visionary. So you need to expedite that process as fast as possible. Low barrier to entry industries. I don't think junk removal will really be considered low barrier to entry, because there's quite a bit of equipment, but maids, landscaping, exterior cleaning, you can go to Home Depot and for less than $1,500 call yourself a business, right? And because of that, it's easier to go and start this thing from scratch. So I would say it's you, learn this, and then accelerate yourself from the person doing the thing to the person crafting the vision for your company as fast as you can. Most industries, it's not necessarily a challenge of too much competition. It's not enough awareness. If more people understood what the benefits of a maid service did, they wouldn't be afraid of that $150 expense every 2 or 3 weeks. Sure, it's a lot of money for a large portion of the country, but there's still tens of millions of people in the country that can afford $300 a month and never have to scrub their shower again, or to clean their sink, or to scrub their, whatever it could be. So it's an amazing benefit. So it's not necessarily, oh, there's other people doing the job cheaper, I can't keep up with that. It's, how can I make more people want to use my service because of me and because of what I've built?
Yeah, and that goes into like the self-limiting beliefs again, right? So having the confidence that you can do that. And I wanted to go back and touch on the previous question, or maybe it's 2 questions ago now, where you had brought up referrals. So I think that can be another self-limiting belief too, because you mentioned how powerful that is, that people should ask for a referral from their customers. So is there a certain way that you think that people should approach this, asking for referrals?
No, so I don't really recommend this book. It's a little outdated now, but 2012, this guy named Bill Tanzer was a pioneer with reviews. He studied behaviors and reviews. And there's a story in the book about a locksmith in New York City. And father-son team. Father was old school, just didn't really want to use technology. Everything was, Rolodex, pen and paper. And son said, hey, there's a lot of new things. We can use Yelp, and we can do the internet to grow our business, and we can get a CRM. And dad's like, nah, we're not doing any of that stuff. So son decided, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. So he went rogue, started his own locksmith company. And according to the book, he started using Yelp and was absolutely in New York City, just crushing it with Yelp as a locksmith. What he would do is a little bit extra. He would, every time you go to a consumer's home, to do the lock job, he would take a can of WD-40 and he'd go around the house and spray all the hinges, especially in older towns, older homes, like creaking door handles and doorknobs everywhere. He'd fix all of those. And then that little bit extra, that 5 minutes to go around and just, squeeze a little WD-40 on the hinges. They were wowed. That was that little extra, like lagniappe. It's a French Creole word for it. And then he would ask after that, by the way, if you have any friends or anybody that needs new locks or to get anything done, here's my card. Please give me a Yelp review, and I'm happy to service them. And his business completely blew up because of that little bit extra and the ask. So organically through referrals and internet-based through Yelp, he completely crushed and outpaced his dad's business in 18 rounds. As a very short period of time, maybe 18 months is something in my head right now, but all because he leveraged the power of referrals and reviews. So that's what you should do in yours. And I've seen this time and time again is have a little bit something extra. Give your technicians about a 5 to 10 minute window at a job just to do something extra. If you junk removal, just sweeping an extra area or whatever, that one little thing you could do, extra cleaning the mirrors in the house, right? It could be anything, that little something that they just didn't expect, and let them know what you gave them that they didn't expect. And it's a game changer for consumers because they're paying you money. And the reason that you don't get over just crazy praise from when you do a good job is because they pay you money. They expected for you to do what they said you to do. Give them a little bit extra and watch their eyes light up. Watch them be a lot more willing to tell their friends and family about you. And it takes you 5-10 minutes of your time per job to get that done. And it'll be a complete game changer. Then when you ask for a referral, you're going to be a lot more likely to get it.
Yeah. And we, here's our top secret for our last finisher. We do sweep up. And we tell our guys all the time, if it's in the garage and the garage is spotless, take that broom and sweep, right? Most times customers will be like, I got it. No, it's part of the job. You're paying us to do this.
Exactly. It's that little bit extra.
Extra step. And for the people that are worried, this is kind of a tangent here. For the people that are worried about hiring people to go out and do the work, this is also kind of like a checklist. So I always mix up the band. I think it's Van Halen that did the green M&M thing. Can you remember that story?
Yeah, we'll just say yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go with that. So to pull out all the green M&Ms in the bowl in the back, and that was their detail to see if the people had read through the contract the correct way. That's kind of also ours for our crews that are out there, because we'll have people email us and say like, hey, you guys did great. It would have been awesome if you guys swept up after the job. Ding. Hey, guys, guess what you didn't do on that job? Yep. So even adding that little thing, there's deep ripples to it. It's great for the persona, the branding of the company to do that little touch, but then it's also that checklist mark for your crews that are out there to make sure that they are going those extra steps for your customers.
And it means so much. When you give them something, they're going to be a lot more likely to give you something.
Right. 100%. The Robert Cialdini, in his psychology book, talks about that, the reciprocation effect. Okay, so next question. Talk to us about coaching and AGS Conquer, which we've touched on here a few times. How can this prepare someone both from a marketing perspective and in general?
Yeah, so that event I talked about earlier, the Automate Grow Sell Experience, that was the event in 2018 that they launched Conquer. And up until that point in time, I was just a guest. I was invited as an attendee. I was just there just to hang out, learn. And Josh Latimer was one of my really good friends. So hang out with Josh for a little bit. And that's when they launched Conquer. So this was, they pitched it as, and they sold it as kind of, you're not alone. Like you've got a whole community of people behind you. And so they really talk about three things: clarity. And I've mentioned this in the calls a few times: clarity, accountability, and community. And those are three really important steps to grow, both internally as a person, as an entrepreneur, and externally to grow your clients and your business and build a company culture that you can be proud of. So as far as, talking about Conquer coaching, it's a complete game changer. I've had people's lives, like personal lives, marriages, family life, be completely changed because anybody listening to this, I mean, I've been there working 70, 80, 90 hours a week, never seeing your family because you're just in it every single day and you can't get out. And it's just this whirlwind. To be able to have the freedom to go to their kids' baseball games and, attend things with their family they haven't done in years. And that's a huge, huge milestone that, again, that self-limiting belief is telling you that you can't do, but you absolutely can. One thing I like to talk about is, as an employee of a company, your people they're used to trading their time for dollars. They punch in, they punch out, they get a paycheck, and everybody's happy, right? But as entrepreneurs, we use our money to buy back our time. And the better you are at using your money to buy back your time, the more successful you're going to be. You are, as an entrepreneur, your own stock market. You're investing in yourself. And when you spend that money, on no matter what you're spending that money on, you expect that to either help you build up a framework that's going to allow you to scale your business, maintain your business, or to get more money back. So if I were to hire an office manager, now I don't have to answer the phone and do scheduling and dispatching and run reports and do payroll, because I've got somebody to do that. Boom, I just got back 30 hours of my life back. So now I went from working 80 to 50 hours a week. And then I say, okay, great. How am I going to drive the sales to get more, to be able to afford this person? So I spend more money on marketing, and marketing is the only thing in business that I spend $1 to hopefully get $5 back. And so then I just think about my business in a different way, that I am not the owner of everything. And that's kind of what Conquer does, is it gives you a path and a roadmap. There is a system and a process to scaling a home service business. It doesn't matter whether you're a service or a trade, a painter, hardscape, landscaper, cleaner, junk removal, it doesn't matter. There's a process. Most people start in the truck. They're doing the thing and they get really good at doing the thing, and they get so busy they can't do the thing anymore. And so they get a helper. And then when the helper out doing the thing and they're answering phone calls and they're scheduling, and the helper gets better. And then all of a sudden, them and the helper, they just literally can't do anything else. And now you're at a really critical moment in your business. You need to decide, because you're making good money with you and a helper in a truck 40 hours a week. You're working 70, 80 hours a week because you got to do all the other stuff, but you're at a crossroads. Am I going to continue to just be an owner operator forever, which is a very, very large percentage of home services in general?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to start to scale this thing? At that point in time, your crossroads is, am I going to stay in the truck and hire sales and office? Am I going to get out of the truck and hire office and tech? So you've got those three things to consider: sales, office, and operations. And you have to decide which one of those you're going to remove. And I have 7-figure businesses that just absolutely love doing the thing. They love it. So they're running $1 million company and they're still in the field 2, 3, 4 days a week because they absolutely love being in the field. They've got a rock star sales staff, rock star office staff. They've got an operations manager, and they're kind of just like hanging out in their business, washing faster than anybody else, or doing their thing faster than anybody else because they legitimately love doing it. That's the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur and working with a company like Conquer, is that you can decide what your why is. You can decide what you want your business to look like. And then all the tools and all the resources and defeating the self-limiting belief is all there. You just have to kind of use the process, use the systems. So sales, you hire a sales manager and do the office and production. You hire an office manager and do the sales and production. You hire another tech, and then you get to do sales and office. So you get to decide how you want to scale to buy back your time, have more freedom to do whatever it is, spend time with your family, fishing, who knows. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, and that's what Conquer really delivers.
Yeah, that's a great plug. And we talk about the stages of business and growth, and kind of, going from that truck to getting off the truck and then replacing yourself, managing the operations. Mm-hmm. And again, like you said, finding your why. What's the ultimate end goal for your business there? And Bennett and I'll share a quick story that Bennett and I had a couple days ago. Bennett came into Conquer and had you guys, the community of coaches there. And he said he put it off for so long because being a type A personality and, being a military guy, firefighter, I didn't need a coach, was his mentality. I don't need a coach. I know what I'm doing.
Heard that. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I said, the coach kind of has a negative connotation to it in this sense, because people would see a coach as like telling me that I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, it's really what it is what you touched on exactly, is it's a community, it's accountability. People that run businesses aren't stupid. They don't fail because they're dumb. They know what to do, but they don't necessarily have somebody telling them and holding them accountable. Hey, you said you were going to do this by this date. You need to do it. It's that little bit of drive, that little bit of push that sometimes they don't have because life happens, right? As you said, there could be family. They could be working 70, 80 hours a week. The employees are badgering them because of this. The family's badgering them because of that. And then they just don't have somebody to hold them accountable. Hey, pull your head up. These are your goals. Stay focused on them. Let's get it done. So I think that's touched on it perfectly.
People are counterintuitive. Being in this business as long as I have, it's typically the blue collar manly man, the one that doesn't really need help, right?
Right.
I'm a man, I can do this, I don't need help. And that's the opposite, right? Because if you read any leadership, it doesn't matter. Like Zig Ziglar, if you help enough people get what you want, you can have whatever is in his life you want. So get around people already doing or what you want to do, or have done what you want to do, to surround yourself with people that can encourage you and show you the way, because you're not going to have every answer, right? So that's why you need a coach. And a coach isn't somebody like you think about your 9-year-old's baseball team. That's not what the coach is, right? Pat you on the butt and say, all right, you can do it. No, it's somebody that's making you and holding you accountable to those hard decisions. When you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, looking in the mirror is a really, really difficult thing to do. And yesterday, in one of my group calls, the whole group is ready to individually start weekly team meetings. None of them have ever done it before. And they've all got leadership. They've got office managers, sales managers, and ops managers. And this is the first time they're going to start a weekly leadership meeting with their teams. So we got a framework and a structure. I know Bennett's huge on leadership. I think he uses EOS and putting that together. And so I asked the question, and I had everybody raise their hand. Is it easier? And you can think about this on your own. Is it easier to hold yourself accountable or other people accountable? I'm just curious, Jeff, what do you think? Is it easier to hold yourself accountable or easier to hold other people accountable?
Oh, it's much easier to tell other people what to do.
Exactly, right? And so I'm glad you said that, because it was 4 for 4 in this group I was talking about. And they've all gotten to where they are. You know, they're between like high 6 and or low 7 figures. They've all gotten to where they are by holding themselves accountable to get there. They've never had team meetings. They've never said, hey, somebody else, do this thing. So they've said, what they've said is harder to do, getting to this point. Now what they're saying is easier to do, to take it to the next level. And so that's what I think is a really important, like, or hard pill to swallow sometimes, is to take ownership of what it is that you're doing and how you can expedite your growth, because nobody wants to be stuck in a truck when they're 60 years old with no out. That you don't have a business. That's a job.
Right.
They want to have something that they can sell. They can leave to their family and build a legacy. And you have to know what steps to take. And if you're reinventing the wheel and doing it on your own, you're going to be slower than getting yourself surrounded by a community.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of deep stuff there, man. That's great. Great information again. I want to jump into a couple of personal questions here. Not too personal, but aside from just marketing in general, I want to know what your favorite book or books are.
Okay. I was asked this question last week. So without getting like too cliche, I mean, they're two basic books. I mentioned the E-Myth. So for your audience, anybody that hasn't read the E-Myth, absolutely read the E-Myth. And then yesterday, I was on another different group call, and we were talking about books. One of the people said that they go through spurts, reading a ton of books and don't read books. I'm actually the same way. I go through periods of time where I'll read a book a week for 3 months and just consume a ton of information. What I found is doing that is I'm spending those 2-3 hours a day or whatever it could be just buried in a book. I'm learning so much. If you think about an author, they've poured the entire life's experience, maybe 10 years, into writing a book that's 200 pages long. So you've just got a lifetime of information that I can consume in a week. And all this information I've got in my head now, but I'm just reading and consuming, and I'm not actually taking action. So I actually go through periods of time where I won't even read a book. I'll read articles and, search engine journal. I mentioned that earlier, like just things to stay, up with what the trends are happening in my industry. But as far as like diving deep, I'll take a little period of time off, because I just read Story Brand. And now I've got this amazing idea using Donald Miller's strategy here to be able to, for all of my clients, build this really cool Story Brand model for the people that are currently in our database. So if I'm spending 2-3 hours a day consuming more information, I'm not taking action. So that's the first thing to do. As far as books go, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, to me, had a couple of moments where were like absolutely profound. People read nonfiction or fiction books and have this moment where like you find out who the killer was, or like whatever it could be, but it's rare to see that in nonfiction books. And there were a couple of times in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People where they had like this twist in it, like, oh, but it's you. And I mean, I like come out of my seat. So that book has more moments of me just like coming out of my seat and just like having this crazy aha moment that you can't fix somebody else until you can fix yourself, right? That's why you put on the other person's mask in the airplane before your own mask before you put somebody else's mask on in the airplane. And so that book to me was really powerful. The E-Myth was a really good one. Story Brand, I mentioned that one. So I mean, I could go on, but really just figuring out what it is you want. There's books on leadership. Anything John Maxwell, I love John Maxwell. 21 Laws of Irrefutable Leadership. So, Laws of Leadership. They're dry, they're dense books. I was mentored by the COO of this franchise holdings company, and in order to be mentored, I had to read the book The Servant, and she wouldn't even like consider talking to me until I read this book. So I read it. I did this crazy long book report, and I won her grace, and was like mentored by, to this day, one of the most insanely talented mentors and leaders that I've ever worked with. And it was because of the book The Servant. So I'd say those are important, like meaningful books to me. And I could name more, but I'd start there.
Yeah, yeah, all great books. And E-Myth, I mean, I think E-Myth and Rich Dad Poor Dad has been named more than any other book on this podcast. So that's
Rich Dad Poor Dad's good. I read that book too.
Yeah.
My first entrepreneurial journey was real estate. And I moved to San Diego, California with about $5,000 in 2008, right when the real estate crash was happening, because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was like, we're going to do this. I went through one of the seminars, and I remember sitting outside with my business partner and best friend. I was like, how are we going to get $50,000? We need to do this now. And Rich Dad Poor Dad was also a pretty profound book for me and my best friend.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So we got books. How about trying not to be biased here? And you don't have to say firepreneurs. What are your favorite podcasts or podcasts?
Yeah, so absolutely firepreneurs is one. Watching what Bennett's done with leadership has been great. No, so I'll just, for me, and I want to give this plug for sure, is Josh Latimer.
Yeah, 100%.
He was the person, I'm not sure if a lot of people have said this, but he was the person that really got me out of the franchise box. He was the first person that I had seen create franchise level systems, resources, documents, and somebody that was teaching their process in a way that was not for self or personal gain, but just because they truly wanted to help serve a community. Getting to know him was the same way. So I remember in 2015, 16, I don't remember when he first started this thing, but I would listen religiously. I would even start taking notes here. And I would use some of the things back to franchise, to our franchise network. And I would go to the CEO at this time, before they were acquired, and say, this dude's amazing. Like, we need to get him. And I actually had invited him to come speak at one of our events, which is like a faux pas of franchising. You never invite somebody that doesn't do that. But it was profound. And he is the reason that I am a Conquer coach. I would still be working in franchising if it wasn't for Josh. So Quick Talk podcast was what it was started at, and now it's the Growth Vault podcast, which is Josh Latimer.
Yeah, that's a great one for sure. We listen, Ben and I listened to that one a lot, and obviously had Josh on here, and he's a great guy as well.
Yeah, just willing to serve, man. He's just in it. He's not in it for personal gain. He's in it because he legitimately loves helping and serving entrepreneurs.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to close out here, but before we do, we didn't even really touch on your click, call, sell business that you've got. So you want to give a little plug for that for us?
Oh, of course. Yeah, at the very end when nobody's listening.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding. So yeah, my career started in marketing. I was the marketing director for Window Genie from 2012 to 2016. And I got to see a whole lot of lead generation tactics, strategies, and how people are using the internet to grow. I had aspirations to start my own company, marketing company in 2016, but they were acquired by this other holdings company that had 15 different industries. So I was really locked in. It's a non-compete. I can't be driving leads for people that aren't in the industry. So I started my company with window tinting as the primary industry, because it was the only large industry that was non-compete. So we started doing a lot of window tinting, websites, lead generation. And then when I left the company in 2018, that's when I really started building Click, Call, Sell. So Click, Call, Sell is my whole idea was to help the little guy. I had built marketing systems for large billion-dollar companies, and the power of what they use, how they leverage all these resources and tools together. And I felt kind of bad when I left for the people in Conquer that just didn't have even close to the power and the resources. So the idea, the core value of Click, Call, Sell is data transparency, or radical transparency. Is we want to make sure that we can give all of our clients all of the data, all of the resources they need to help them make a well-informed decision, and also provide total ownership of all of our assets and resources. So anytime we do something for a client, you own it. Your website, you own. Your hosting, you own. Your Google Ads accounts, you own. Your Facebook accounts, you own. So that if at any point in time you decide that you don't want it anymore, it's yours, which is something very, very rare people don't do. Our whole specialty is called conversion rate optimization. That's really diving into and understanding the behavior of users on your website. Why are they there? What actions do they take on your website? And really focusing in on not only driving traffic to your website, but that traffic converting. So it could be a wrong keyword. It could be a wrong message. It could be a wrong call to action. It could be a wrong offer. Our job is to make sure that we're crafting a message and a web experience that allows people to not just click on you, but convert. Because most agencies, and Jeff, if you've worked with them before, they like to, pound their chest about, you rank number one for this many keywords, or look at all this great traffic you're getting. But who cares how you rank or how much traffic you get? If they don't call you, does it matter? So that's kind of our thing, is conversion rate optimization, is driving traffic. Because you as an entrepreneur can say, great, I have a great resource and a great partner here, which does an awesome job. What can I do to drive more traffic in, right? So what day of the week, what time of the day, what cities, and all this information we provide in real time to all of our clients, which is a huge, unique benefit people just aren't doing.
Yeah, and that's, again, a testimonial. Bennett and Miranda are great at marketing, no doubt, and that I know that they brought you in to help with some pay-per-click and probably a few other things. Like I said, I'm kind of out of that loop. So.
Miranda's a genius. Yeah, I enjoy talking to Miranda. She's really, really smart.
Yeah, she's
not
sharp.
saying that Bennett is not, but I've had more conversations about the marketing with Miranda than Bennett.
Yeah. So still just another testimonial to what Michael does and how he can help out businesses out there. It's awesome, man. Michael, man, it was great having you on. I learned a ton in this episode, man. I appreciate you sharing your wealth of knowledge on this, and I know we could talk for hours more, but I know we both gotta be hopping off of here. So,
all right. Well, hey, it was really, really nice to meet you, Jeff.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. Have a great day, and thanks for joining us again.
All right, take care, man. See ya.
You too. Bye. Thanks for joining Firepreneurs today. We hope that we delivered value in your leadership journey. We humbly ask that you take the time to leave us a 5-star review, as that's how our podcast will rise in rankings and become available to more people. We'd love to hear from you, so you can email us by emailing firepreneurs@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or by watching us on our Firepreneurs YouTube channel. Stay hungry and get after it.